Jake's spacecraft rattled violently as it breached the atmosphere of the uncharted planet. Warning lights flashed and alarms blared within the cramped cockpit. "Hold together, just a bit longer," he muttered to the ship, gripping the controls with determination. With a skilled but forceful maneuver, he managed a rough landing among the lush greenery of an alien jungle. Stepping out, Jake surveyed the landscape, marveling at the towering neon-blue trees and the unfamiliar chirping of distant creatures. His mission was to explore and document, but now, survival was the priority. He checked his gear: scanner, communicator, rations, and a basic weapon for protection. Suddenly, rustling from the undergrowth caught his attention. He froze, watching as a figure separated from the shadows. It was not like any creature he had encountered in his briefings. Standing easily over 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like emeralds in the sunlight, was an alien, unmistakably sentient, watching him curiously. "Whoa," Jake breathed out, slowly raising his hands to show he wasn't a threat. The alien's eyes narrowed slightly, a hand moving to a weapon at her hip. "I mean no harm," Jake said clearly, hoping his voice conveyed his peaceful intentions. The alien tilted her head, her gaze piercing. "You speak," she remarked, her voice melodic yet commanding. "Yes, I come from Earth. My name is Jake. I'm an explorer," he replied, keeping his movements minimal. "Earth." She seemed to roll the word around her mouth, tasting it. "I am Mela." "Mela," Jake repeated, nodding. "I'm sorry for intruding. My landing wasn't planned. There was a malfunction." Mela stepped closer, her height and the breadth of her shoulders imposing. "You are far from your path, Earth Jake. This planet is not for your kind." Jake understood the warning in her tone. "I have no intention of causing trouble. I'm here to learn, not to conquer or claim." Mela watched him for a moment longer, then relaxed slightly, her weapon hand moving away. "Curiosity can be as dangerous as hostility, Earth Jake." "True, but it can also lead to understanding and friendship," Jake countered with a hopeful smile. She considered this, then gestured for him to follow. "Come, our leader will decide what to do with you." As they walked, Jake tried to keep pace with Mela's long strides. "Is it just you here, or are there others?" Mela glanced at him. "My people are many, and we protect our world fiercely." "I gathered that. But I promise, I'm not here to cause any harm." "That will be seen, Earth Jake," Mela said. "For now, you follow and remain silent." Jake nodded, taking the opportunity to observe everything around him. The planet was teeming with life, from the smallest insect to the tallest tree. Despite the situation, excitement bubbled within him. This was why he explored: to encounter the unknown, to experience the wonders of the universe firsthand. As they approached a clearing, structures made from the same neon blue wood as the trees became visible. They were elegantly constructed, blending seamlessly with the natural environment. People, similar in appearance to Mela but varying in size and coloration, stopped to stare at him. Jake offered a nervous wave, receiving mixed looks of curiosity and suspicion in return. Mela led him to the largest building, situated at the heart of the village. "Wait here," she instructed, before disappearing inside. Left at the entrance, Jake took a deep breath. He was on an alien planet, surrounded by its native inhabitants, with no guarantee of a friendly reception. Yet, despite the uncertainty, he couldn't help but feel a rush of adrenaline. This was exploration at its finest, and he was in the thick of it. As Jake stood at the entrance of the imposing structure, his heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. The alien architecture was a fascinating blend of natural elements and artistic symmetry, something that would make any explorer's spirit soar despite the underlying tension of the moment. Mela re-emerged, accompanied by a taller, older male who carried an air of authority. His eyes, a deep shade of violet, scrutinized Jake with an intensity that made him shift uncomfortably. "Mela tells me you claim to be an explorer," the elder began, his voice deep and resonating through the open space. "I am Kale, leader of the Yulari." Jake nodded respectfully. "Yes, sir. I'm Jake, from Earth. I'm here to learn, not to disrupt." Kale walked around Jake, inspecting him. Your arrival is unprecedented. Our world is secluded by choice. The risks of interaction with outsiders are high. I understand your concerns, Jake replied, maintaining a calm demeanor. I assure you, my intentions are peaceful. I am here alone, and my only desire is to share knowledge and understand more about your culture. Kale paused, then signaled for Jake to follow him and Mela. They walked through the village, and Jake noticed the community's activities pause as they passed. Children played with bioluminescent balls that glowed softly against the twilight, while adults engaged in crafting or conversation, their expressions wary but curious. We live in balance with our planet, Kale explained, his voice softening. Our traditions protect this balance. Your presence could disturb that. I have much to learn from you then, about maintaining such a balance, Jake said. Back on Earth, we struggle with this. There's much we could learn from you. Kale led him to a small, round building, entering first. Inside, the space was filled with various artifacts and tools. Kale picked up a carved wooden object, handing it to Jake. This is a tool for tilling the soil, Kale explained. We cultivate our food with care, respecting the land that sustains us. Jake examined the tool, impressed by the craftsmanship. It's beautiful. We use machines mostly, which can be harmful to our land. Mela, who had been silent, spoke up. Why come here, Jake? Why risk so much? I was drawn to the unknown, to learn. My planet has many problems, and I believe that understanding others can help us solve our own, Jake responded earnestly. Kale and Mela exchanged a look, then Kale nodded slightly. Come, let us show you more. For the next hour, Jake was shown various aspects of Yulari life. He was introduced to their methods of harvesting energy from the local flora, their water purification techniques using natural minerals, and their social practices of communal decision-making. As the tour concluded, they stood overlooking a vast expanse of glowing fields. Our world is precious to us, Kale said, his voice almost a whisper. I see that, Jake replied, his voice filled with genuine admiration. And I respect it deeply. Mela stepped forward. Perhaps Kale, he can be trusted. Perhaps he can carry our message back to his world. Kale pondered her words, then turned to Jake. You will stay with us for a time. Learn our ways. And if you prove your honor, we might share more. Jake felt a surge of gratitude. Thank you, Kale, Mela. I won't let you down. As they walked back to the village, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the vibrant landscape. Jake knew the path ahead would be challenging, but the opportunity to bridge worlds was a rare privilege. He was determined to learn, to understand, and hopefully to make a difference. The early morning sun filtered through the dense canopy of the forest, casting dappled shadows on the path as Jake followed Mela deeper into the jungle. The air was rich with the scent of exotic flowers and the calls of unseen creatures. Today you will learn the significance of the Luvari, Mela explained, guiding him towards a part of the forest he hadn't yet seen. The Luvari? Jake inquired, stepping over a thick root. It's a ceremony of connection, she replied. Connection with nature, with each other, and with our ancestors. They approached a clearing where several Yulari men were already gathered, each wearing ornate body paint that glowed subtly in the morning light. Among them was Kale, who nodded to Jake as they approached. This is a rare honor for an outsider, Kale said gravely. Observe and respect our ways. Jake nodded earnestly. Thank you. I'm grateful to witness this. The men began the ceremony, chanting in a deep, rhythmic tone. Mela translated quietly for Jake, explaining the meaning of each verse and its connection to their beliefs. As the ceremony unfolded, Jake felt the depth of the community's bond with their environment. The Yulari moved with a grace and reverence that spoke of a long-standing tradition, each gesture significant and deliberate. After the ceremony, Kale approached Jake. What is your impression? It's deeply moving, Jake admitted. The connection you have with your world is unlike anything on Earth. We've lost much of our reverence for nature. Kale's expression softened slightly. You seek to regain it? I hope we can, Jake said. Learning from you might help us find a way back to that respect. Kale nodded, considering his words. Come, let us walk. As they strolled through the village, Kale pointed out various community activities. Children were learning to craft from the elders, and others were preparing food using methods that preserved and respected the natural resources. Your people seem very united, Jake observed. It is necessary for survival, Kale explained. Each person plays a role in sustaining the community. Jake was introduced to a group of craftsmen who were working on intricate beadwork. One of them, a robust man named Torin, offered Jake a simple task under his guidance. Try, Torin encouraged, handing him a string and beads. Jake's fingers fumbled at first, but with Torin's patient guidance, he managed to create a small but uneven segment of beadwork. Not bad for a first try, Torin chuckled, clapping Jake on the shoulder. Thanks, Jake laughed, handing back the materials. I appreciate the lesson. As they continued their tour, Kale explained the importance of every individual's contribution, no matter how small. Each action adds to the whole. This is how we maintain balance. Balance, Jake repeated thoughtfully. It's a concept we understand, but find hard to live by. Kale nodded. Perhaps you will take our lessons home then. I intend to, Jake affirmed. As the day ended, Jake sat with Mela, watching the sunset. Today was enlightening, he said. I feel a part of something greater here. Mela smiled slightly. And yet there is much more to learn. I'm ready for it, Jake replied, looking out over the vibrant landscape. Whatever it takes. Their conversation drifted into the evening, with Mela sharing stories of Yulari legends and Jake recounting tales of Earth's diverse cultures. Through these exchanges, a bridge began to form, not just between an Earthling and the Yulari, but between two worlds, each offering its own lessons and challenges. Jake awoke to the harmonious chirping of the alien birds, a sound he was starting to appreciate as much as the familiar dawn chorus back on Earth. Today, Mela had arranged for him to spend the day with various craftsmen and scientists within the community to deepen his understanding of their technologies and philosophies. The first stop was the community's main workshop, where a man named Corin was known for his expertise in crafting tools that were both functional and sustainable. The workshop was filled with materials sourced from the forest, tools made of bone and wood, and devices that harnessed the natural energy of the planet. Jake, this is Corin, Mela introduced. Corin was a sturdy man with keen eyes and hands stained from years of labor. Welcome, Jake, Corin greeted him with a robust handshake. Mela tells me you're keen to understand our ways. I am, Jake confirmed, especially how you create with such respect for resources. Corin nodded, picking up a lightweight material that shimmered in the light. This is from the bark of the Fellner tree. It's very versatile. Let me show you how we work it. Jake watched, fascinated, as Corin demonstrated the method to manipulate the bark into various forms. Each movement was practiced and precise, a testament to years of expertise. Why choose this method over more modern techniques? Jake asked, genuinely curious. Corin glanced at him, a spark of interest in his eyes. Our methods ensure we take no more than we need. It keeps the forest and us healthy. That's a philosophy we could use on Earth, Jake mused aloud. Corin laughed softly. Perhaps, but it's not just about methods, it's about mindset. The rest of the morning passed with Jake learning the basics of Yulari craftsmanship. The care and attention to detail were unlike anything he had seen before, and every tool had a purpose and a story. In the afternoon, Mela took Jake to meet with the community's plant specialists, led by an elder named Siren. Siren was a slender man with a gentle demeanor and an encyclopedic knowledge of the local flora. Each plant has a role within our ecosystem, Siren explained as they walked through a vast garden. Some purify the water, others enrich the soil, and some even heal our ailments. They stopped by a plant with vibrant red leaves. Siren plucked a leaf, crushing it between his fingers to release a sweet, pungent odor. This, Siren offered the crushed leaf to Jake, helps with healing cuts. It's antiseptic. Jake inhaled the scent, noting the tingling in his nose. Incredible, he remarked. Natural remedies are becoming a lost art on Earth. Siren nodded, his expression thoughtful. The more connected you are to the land, the more it gives back. As the day neared its end, Jake felt a profound respect for the Yulari's symbiotic relationship with their environment. His notebook was filled with notes, sketches, and many questions. Returning to the village center, Jake found Kale waiting for him. "You've had a busy day," Kale observed, his tone light. "Yes, and enlightening," Jake responded. "I've learned so much, not just about your technologies, but about your way of life." Kale smiled slightly. "And what will you do with this knowledge?" Jake paused, considering the weight of the question. "Share it, hopefully. Use it to help us find a better balance like you have." "It's a worthy goal," Kale approved. "Learning is the first step towards change." As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the village, Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose. This exchange of knowledge could be the key to changing not just one world, but two. With each day, the gap between the Yolari and Earth seemed to narrow, replaced by a growing bridge of mutual understanding and respect. The next day dawned clear and bright, with the promise of an insightful experience as Jake prepared to spend it with Yovar, renowned Yolari historian and storyteller. Mela introduced them near the village's central gathering area, where Yovar, a tall, elderly man with a commanding presence, was waiting with a friendly smile. "Jake, I hear you are eager to understand our history," Yovar said, extending a hand. "Absolutely," Jake replied, shaking his hand. "History tells so much about a people's identity." "Then follow me, we have much to cover." Yovar beckoned with a wave of his hand, leading them towards a series of ancient stone structures just outside the village. As they walked, Yovar began to recount the tales of his people, starting from their origins. "Long ago, our ancestors learned to live with the land, not off it," he explained, his voice echoing slightly against the stones. "These structures are monuments to our early days, built to align with the celestial bodies." They stopped in front of a particularly imposing structure, its stones arranged to frame the rising sun. "Every year, at the solstice, the light passes directly through here," Yovar pointed. "It reminds us of the cycles of nature, of renewal and continuity." Jake took notes, captivated by the depth of the connection the Yolari had with their environment. "And these stories, they are passed down how?" "Through gatherings, much like this," Yovar gestured around them. "And through mentoring, as I will pass them to you today." The day passed with Yovar sharing more stories, each enriched with personal anecdotes and historical insights. Jake listened intently, understanding that these were not just tales, but the living memory of the Yolari people, preserved and cherished through generations. As the afternoon waned, they returned to the village, where a group of Yolari children gathered around, curious about the stranger in their midst. Yovar chuckled, inviting Jake to share something of his own culture. Jake thought for a moment, then began a simple Earth tale about the stars and how ancient humans used them to navigate and mark the seasons. The children listened with rapt attention, their eyes wide with wonder. "Your stories are also powerful," Yovar observed after the children had left, smiling. "They bridge worlds." "Thank you," Jake replied, feeling a sense of pride. "I hope they can help bring our worlds closer." As the evening approached, Jake and Mela sat down by the edge of the village, looking out at the lush forests that surrounded them. The air was filled with the gentle sounds of the planet, a natural symphony that was both alien and comforting. "Mela, today was incredible," Jake said earnestly. "Yovar helped me see just how deeply your roots go into this land." Mela nodded, her expression reflective. "And in sharing our stories with you, we hope you carry a part of us with you, wherever you go." "I will," Jake promised. "And I hope one day, your stories will be told on Earth as a lesson and inspiration." They talked until the stars began to appear, each sharing more about their hopes and fears. Jake spoke of Earth, of its beauty and troubles, and Mela shared her dreams for her people's future. "It seems," Mela finally said, "that despite the vastness between our worlds, we have much in common." "Yes," Jake agreed, looking up at the night sky. "Maybe that's the key. Finding common ground, even if it's light years apart." Their conversation lingered into the night, each moment strengthening the fragile bond between them. It was clear that this exchange was about more than just learning. It was about understanding, sharing, and maybe about changing. As the moon cast its glow over the quiet village, Jake felt more connected to this alien world than he ever thought possible, a testament to the power of shared stories and shared lives. The morning sun filtered through the thick canopy of the Ilari village, casting intricate patterns of light and shadow across the central square. Jake stood at the edge of the bustling activity, watching as Mela approached him, her stride purposeful and strong. "Today, you learn about our survival techniques," Mela said without preamble. "It will not be easy." Jake grinned. "I didn't come all this way for easy." Mela raised a brow, a hint of amusement flickering in her otherwise serious expression. "We'll see how confident you are when you're knee-deep in a river, trying to catch a Solari fish with your bare hands." "Sounds like fun," Jake replied, falling into step beside her as they headed toward the jungle. "Do you fish often?" "It is not just fishing," Mela said, brushing aside a low-hanging branch as they entered the dense forest. "It's understanding the rhythms of the river, the habits of the Solari, and the way the environment shapes the hunt." Jake glanced at her, intrigued. "So it's about connection?" "Yes," she said, her tone softening slightly. "Everything here is connected. To live well, we must respect that." They reached a wide, slow-moving river, its surface glimmering under the sunlight. Mela knelt by the bank and motioned for Jake to do the same. "Solari swim close to the rocks. You have to wait, watch for the patterns, and then strike." Jake nodded, rolling up his sleeves. "Got it. Wait, watch, strike. Do not underestimate them," Mela warned. "They are fast." Jake crouched by the water, his eyes scanning the rippling surface. "So what's the trick?" "Patience and precision," Mela said, her voice calm. "Here, like this." She dipped her hand into the water, her movements slow and deliberate. Jake watched as she stayed perfectly still, her focus unwavering. Then, with a sudden flash of motion, she plunged her hand into the water and emerged holding a sleek, silver fish that wriggled in her grip. "That's impressive," Jake admitted, watching as Mela placed the fish in a basket nearby. "Now you try," she said, stepping back to give him room. Jake mirrored her stance, dipping his hand into the cool water. He stayed still, watching the Solari dart between the rocks. He waited for the right moment, then lunged forward, his hand splashing wildly. He came up empty-handed, water dripping from his arm. "Too eager," Mela said, a teasing edge in her voice. "The Solari can sense your intent." "Great," Jake muttered, shaking water off his hand. "A fish that can read minds." Mela chuckled, the sound low and warm. "Not minds, just movement." "Try again." Jake tried several more times, each attempt a lesson in patience and precision. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, he managed to grab a Solari, holding it aloft with a triumphant grin. "Not bad," Mela said, her expression approving. "For a beginner." "High praise," Jake quipped, dropping the fish into the basket. "What's next?" "We cook," Mela said, leading him back toward the village. "And while we do, you can teach me something about your world." As they prepared the fish together over an open flame, Jake shared stories of Earth, its cities, its cultures, and its struggles. Mela listened intently, occasionally asking questions. "Your world sounds chaotic," she said after a while. "It can be," Jake admitted, "but it's also beautiful. There's so much variety, so much potential." "Potential is only as strong as those who act on it," Mela observed, handing him a piece of cooked fish. "You're not wrong," Jake said, taking a bite. "Maybe that's why I'm here. To learn how to act better." Mela regarded him for a moment, then nodded. "You are learning. That is what matters." As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden glow over the village, Jake felt a growing sense of connection, not just to the Ilari and their way of life, but to Mela herself. Their shared experiences, their conversations, were shaping something neither of them could quite name yet. And for the first time, Jake wondered if he wasn't just learning from this place, but also finding a part of himself he hadn't known was missing. The evening air in the Ilari village was thick with anticipation. Jake could feel it in the way people whispered as he passed, their eyes darting toward him before quickly looking away. Even Mela, who was usually composed, seemed more guarded than usual as they walked together toward the central gathering hall. "What's going on, Mela?" Jake asked, breaking the silence. The elders have called a meeting, she replied. Her tone clipped. There are concerns about your presence here. Jake frowned. Concerns? I've done everything to show I'm here to learn, not harm. It's not about your actions, Mela said. It's about what your presence represents. Before Jake could press her further, they arrived at the hall, its entrance flanked by ornate carvings of Yulari ancestors. Inside, the elders sat in a semicircle, their expressions ranging from curiosity to stern disapproval. Kale stood at the center, his commanding presence amplified by the glow of the firelight. Jake, Kale began as they entered. Step forward. Jake glanced at Mela, who gave him a small nod, before stepping into the center of the hall. He straightened his shoulders, meeting Kale's gaze. You have spent time among us, Kale said, his voice steady. You have learned our ways, shared our food, and listened to our stories. But your presence here raises a question. What will you do with what you have learned? Jake took a deep breath. I've come to understand your connection to this world, your balance with it. I believe my people could learn from your ways, and I want to share that knowledge. With your permission. There was a murmur among the elders, some nodding in approval, others frowning. And if your people misuse this knowledge, one elder asked sharply, leaning forward. If they exploit it as they have their own world? Jake hesitated, knowing the weight of the question. I can't guarantee what everyone will do, he admitted. But I can promise that I'll do everything in my power to protect what you've shared with me. To honor it. Another elder, a woman with piercing silver eyes, spoke up. You speak well, but words are not enough. How do we know your heart is true? Jake opened his mouth to respond, but Mela stepped forward, her voice firm. I have seen his actions. He has worked alongside us, learned with humility, and shown respect for our ways. He is not here to take, but to understand. The hall fell silent, the weight of Mela's words hanging in the air. Kale studied Jake for a long moment, then turned to the other elders. We must decide. The elders conferred quietly, their voices low and serious. Jake stood motionless, his heart pounding as he waited. Finally, Kale turned back to him. You may stay among us a while longer, Kale said. But know this, the knowledge you carry is not yours alone. It belongs to all who share it. Jake nodded, his relief tempered by the gravity of Kale's words. I understand. Thank you. As the meeting ended, Jake and Mela stepped outside. The cool night air a welcome contrast to the tense atmosphere of the hall. They walked in silence for a while before Jake finally spoke. Thank you for standing up for me. I spoke the truth, Mela said simply. You have earned my trust, even if others still doubt you. Jake stopped, turning to face her. It means more than you know, Mela. You've taught me so much, not just about your world, but about myself. Mela's gaze softened, a rare vulnerability shining through. And you have reminded me that understanding can come from unexpected places. For a moment, neither of them spoke, the unspoken connection between them growing stronger with each passing second. Then Mela broke the silence with a small, almost teasing smile. You still have much to learn, Earthjake. Jake chuckled, the tension easing. Then I'd better stick around a little longer. They continued walking, the village quiet around them, but Jake felt anything but alone. For the first time, he felt truly a part of this place, not just an observer but someone who belonged, even if only for a while. The forest buzzed with life as Jake and Mela stood side by side, overseeing the repairs to his spacecraft. The Yulari had offered their unique knowledge of materials and energy sources, helping Jake restore the damaged systems. The sleek silver hull now glinted under the afternoon sun, almost ready to take flight once more. Looks like it's coming together, Jake said, running a hand over the repaired section. I didn't think I'd see her in one piece again. You underestimate the skill of my people, Mela replied, a hint of pride in her voice. Jake turned to her, smiling. Never doubted it for a second. I'm just grateful for the help. As they walked around the ship, Torin and a group of Yulari technicians worked nearby, tightening fittings and securing panels. Jake paused, watching them with appreciation. It's incredible how your people blend technology with nature. It's like the ship has been healed rather than repaired. That is how it should feel, Torrin said, glancing up with a small grin. Machines, like the land, deserve respect. Jake nodded, absorbing the lesson. We could learn so much from that approach back on Earth. You will, Mela said softly, her gaze steady on him. Because you carry it now. The work continued through the afternoon, with Jake assisting wherever he could. He found himself climbing onto the ship's hull to test the seals, then back on the ground, lifting components with Mela's help. The camaraderie between them had deepened over the weeks, and their movements now carried an unspoken rhythm of trust and understanding. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting a golden glow over the village, the spacecraft stood ready. Kale approached, his expression calm but serious. Your journey will take you far, Jake, Kale said. What you carry with you is more than knowledge. It is a piece of who we are. I understand, Jake replied, and I'll do everything I can to honor that. Kale studied him for a moment, then nodded. You are always welcome here. Should you find your path crossing ours again? Thank you, Jake said, his voice steady despite the emotion welling inside him. The villagers gathered as the ship powered up, its engines humming softly. Jake climbed into the cockpit, his movements slow, as if reluctant to leave. Mela stood by the open hatch, her expression unreadable. Mela, Jake said, leaning toward her. I couldn't have done this without you. You've changed how I see everything. My world, your world, and myself. You have changed as well, Mela said, her voice quieter than usual. You see not as a visitor, but as one who belongs. Jake hesitated, then extended a hand. Come with me. There's so much more to see out there. Mela stared at him, the conflict in her eyes clear. She glanced back at her people, then at Jake, before stepping forward and gripping his hand firmly. You thought I tried to catch you, Earth Jake, she said, her voice laced with humor. But I had other ideas. They climbed into the ship together, the hatch closing behind them. As the engines roared to life and the spacecraft lifted off, the Alari below watched in silence, their faces a mixture of pride and farewell. Through the viewport, Jake caught one last glimpse of the glowing forests and the vibrant village, the place that had reshaped him in ways he hadn't imagined. Beside him, Mela stood tall, her presence grounding and energizing him all at once. Where do we go first? Mela asked, her voice calm but curious. Jake smiled, his hand hovering over the navigation controls. Anywhere we want. Together. The ship soared into the sky, disappearing into the stars, carrying with it not just two people, but the beginning of a journey neither had ever expected.